What is up, everybody?
Hello.
We are back for episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
You are tuning into the BOP.
I thank you for embracing that.
Yeah, we've it's kind of funny hearing the people come up to us and say, "Oh, we listened to the BOP." It's so weird. It was just a joke, you know.
I think it's catchy.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've been pretty happy with the feedback we've gotten. So last week we talked about coming into the holidays. Obviously, this one is after Christmas, so I hope everybody had a great Christmas. We talked a little bit about
Gifts.
gift guide.
Yep.
Just some stuff that is nice from a outdoor standpoint, and also just some kind of general gifts that we like to see. We talked a little bit about ice fishing. We talked a little bit about upcoming trips.
Yep.
So that was kind of just a little recap. If you guys didn't tune into episode 2, please check it out. We really appreciate it. Today we are going to recap the holidays.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about?
Our last goose hunt.
Goose is closed now, so we'll cover that. We did one last hurrah.
Yep.
Talk
Talk about ice fishing a
a little bit about our ice fishing. We got out a little bit. Got into some pretty good fish. We'll talk about our upcoming plans for ice fishing. We got some kind of cool ideas in the mix. The weather is not necessarily cooperating, but we'll see how everything looks.
And then we're going to talk about ice fishing essentials, right? So for people that are new to ice fishing, like what you should have on your trip.
And that's, we talk about stuff like that we have for the first 2 episodes, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that.
I don't think we've broken down yet kind of what our pack-in looks like.
No, and it's kind of funny too, because like we're, just transitioning into that ice season. We've been out a handful of times, but still kind of getting the hang of packing everything, and like up until this point we've had overlapped seasons, so it's been kind of hard to juggle like what you're doing and what's in the truck already, and what needs to be in the truck, and what trailer needs to be hooked up, and where everything is. So we'll kind of talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll lead off with some of the holiday recap.
I got a portable toilet.
Got a portable toilet.
So
that was the funny gift I was talking about last episode that I was so excited for.
Oh my gosh.
We've talked about this in the past on just like outings in the outside, being in the outdoors, and how inconvenient it is for you to use the bathroom. And I just happened to walk by it in Fleet Farm, and I thought it was hilarious. So
it's called the Luggable Loo. Lugaloo, and it's great.
It's literally just a 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat attached to it.
But it's a sturdy toilet seat.
Yeah, it's designed for it.
Which is great. You just throw a garbage bag in there and call her a day.
They make like special scent-proof bags and stuff for it. But I thought it was funny, and it was kind of like a little... I was able to stuff like all of your other ice fishing gifts into it, and kind of funny. I don't know. I thought it was... Instead of using a gift bag, I used a Lugaloo.
I'm excited. And you still wrapped it with paper.
That I did, yeah.
Yep. It was fun. Is it weird to say I'm excited to use it?
It is kind of weird, but...
Okay, I'm excited to use it anyway.
Yeah, well, it's going to be more comfortable than having to squat over a partial hole or something like that,
Yeah.
I don't know how pooping in it's going to go.
Oh my gosh.
So I think during the last episode, we had already went up to see my brother and my dad.
Yeah.
But we had that following Monday, we did Christmas with your family, or your like immediate family, your mom and Jerry and Hilly and Josh and the girls. Yep. So we did that on Monday, and that was super nice. It was 2 days before Christmas, so it's kind of split up and we didn't have like everything all going on at once. So I can always really appreciate that.
Yeah.
The holidays are an extremely busy time of year for us. So it's like when you add in 10 different Christmases and having to commute all over the place, like it's just nice to split it like apart. It doesn't all fall on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I'm sure other people can kind of relate to that too, how it can be a little overwhelming to feel like you need to be in all of the places at once.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're not only physically there, but you're also mentally there too and present with all of your people. It can be a lot. And so for it to be able to be spread out a little bit, it's really helpful.
Yeah. I think one of the funniest things from our Christmas Monday with your family was your mom got me hot sauce, which I don't think I was ragging hot sauce that bad on the last episode.
Think so. You didn't call it a cop-out gift.
No, I don't think so. I maybe said, like it's something I get every year, which is fine because I do, and I love it. I love hot sauce. Mm-hmm. I go through them faster than I can make it to the next Christmas, so I'm more than grateful for it. But she must have already had gotten me that before she listened to the episode. But then she also heard me complaining about always losing my G2 pens, so she put
like 10 of them.
G2 pens in it too, which is hilarious. Which it was cool because we were talking about, being aware and like paying attention to the people that you care about and the things that they want and need. And I thought that was pretty cool.
For sure.
I don't lose my G2s often. I break the clips off of them. Then they turn into a junk drawer pen because I like carrying them in my pocket when I work. And if I don't have a clip, it kind of sucks. But I thought that was hilarious. And then we didn't really do anything Christmas Eve. I had to work. I went to church. Yeah. And then we did your extended family Christmas morning.
Yep. So we drove a little over, I think it was an hour 15 or whatever, down to celebrate with my aunts and uncles and grandpa and grandma. And then we went to your mom's in the late afternoon.
Yeah. So that was good. It was fun.
Yeah. It's nice to see people that we don't get to see often.
Yeah. So that was definitely good. Like I said, we talked about it last episode. I can always appreciate people who are, really thinking about what they give and like it. I don't know. It was really cool. I got a lot of things that I'm going to put to good use, and it was nice, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
What was your favorite gift?
Oh.
From me, obviously. Other than your toilet.
Other than my luggable loo. Gosh, that's hard. You got me a new DSG sweatshirt that I really liked. I wore that ice fishing last night. And something that I noticed about it was that it had thumb holes, but it was reinforced. Like the part of your sweatshirt that's usually way too long. Like on all of my Sitka stuff, the arms are so long on them, and so I have to like roll them over. But like the DSG sweatshirt, it was like shorter on the cuff on the bottom. Yeah. And then there was a thumb hole in there that was like double reinforced. So it's like gonna stay on you and not rip, because I usually have, or get too stretched out or whatever, which is why I normally don't even wear the thumb hole part. Right. So that was, and it matches my bibs perfectly. So that was really fun. Otherwise I'm wearing this big, cozy, comfy blanket.
It's basically like a blanket.
Well, I'm short, hoodie. So it's a dress, basically. But it's very cozy.
You look ridiculous, but it's fine. Who cares? Nobody's judging on this podcast.
Well, nobody but you, apparently. Huh? You said I look ridiculous.
You do look ridiculous.
I look comfy and cozy, and people are probably jealous that they don't have one.
Get yourself one.
Amazon. What was your favorite gift that you got? Other than your G2s.
I am wearing them. I freaking love these pants. You got me another pair of these pants, which was nice. Big fan of the Wrangler ATGs. They're like stretchy and
you can get them at Walmart.
And they're relatively cheap. I think they're like $24 or $30 or something like that.
Yeah, I think they're 20. Like that. And we're saving up.
Yeah.
right? Saving up some money for some DSDs.
Yeah. After this last goose season and kind of getting the run around on some pressured birds, we kind of made the call, and they're expensive, but they are the nicest decoys on the market. And we've seen some success with running smaller spreads and stuff. So going ultra realistic later in the year, or I like to, like, you come October and you got pressured local birds. It's not late in the year where you need to be like worried about the migrators that have seen everything on their way down. It's the fact that like these birds have been around all, you know, the whole early season, and they're your local birds that have seen everybody throw. And arguably those ones see a lot of same local pressure because everybody's out. It's nice. Like they're chasing after these birds. They're the smart like town birds or city birds. So that's a good time to use them too. But we kind of put together like a wish list of what our ideal like small ultra realistic spread would be.
Of Dave Smith.
Dave Smith's. Yep.
Yes, DSDs.
So I don't know. I've always loved them. They've always kind of been outside of our budget. We've kind of made do with what we can. And now, like, again, as we get more serious about it and stuff, we're gonna make a point to save up for them and
see what we can do.
Take some of the Christmas money and set it aside and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
it's like a 14 decoy spread. It's nothing crazy as far as numbers go, but like I said, it's the most realistic and they're big. So like I've always said too, if you can get away with big and realistic, you don't have to have as many numbers. So there's a give and a take with all of it. Like, traffic hunts, you need to run numbers. It doesn't really probably matter quite as much what all your decoys look like. But when you go down to a small spread and they get time to look at all of them closely and everything, and they're pressured and they're wary already, it helps.
For sure.
I mean, I've seen videos and pictures of live geese mixed with DSDs, and you can't tell the difference. I mean, it's crazy.
Other than the fact that they might move.
Right. Yeah. So.
It's pretty cool.
That's something, that's kind of a gift from ourselves to us, and I think it's going to help a lot. We plan on, like I said, running it late season in the snow, like when you're running on the last couple birds in town, or like your October loaf ponds, pasture pond style stuff, where you want to put a couple sleepers, couple full bodies. It looks just like a family pack of 14 birds that are hanging out on a cattle pond or something like that, and I think it'll do the trick on fooling some of these smarter birds. So that'll be kind of cool. So we'll talk about those. We'll maybe do a unboxing or something like that as we start to get them.
Yeah. Speaking of goose hunting.
Yeah.
How did the last hunt go?
So today is Friday. This will go up Sunday probably, but we closed on Thursday, which is
26th.
I feel like it's weird. I feel like normally, and obviously it's weird because Christmas fell on a weekday too. Like everything's kind of just weird. But yeah, we closed on Thursday, so yesterday, and I knew we didn't have much for birds around. It was one of those things where like it was kind of already over, but I wasn't ready for it to be over. So we did one last prayer, and it sucks because like places north of us are still killing birds. Like there's birds on hot water places north of us, that haven't migrated yet. So it's like there's still a chance that, these birds are going to push eventually.
Right.
You kind of just get out there and you hope that they do it that day. It just is what it is. But we went out to a local lake that tends to have significantly more traffic. I mean, we decided to get out of Janesville because we knew, everything around us is locked up.
Right.
Best bet is get closer to the birds, so we pushed that way. And we went to a little like reservoir off of a main lake, and we ran a nice spread out there. Bunch of sleeper shells, handful of full bodies, and I don't know. We saw two birds. It didn't really give us a fair look, and it just is what it is.
It was fun because the only other times that I've hunted that same spot, it's not been ice. It's been,
Right, we
it's
duck
been
hunt it,
open water. Yeah.
so it's like a slough.
Yeah. So you trek in and, halfway down the path, you end up, okay, now I'm in the mud. And
Right.
now we're, actually going through it instead of on land. So it was interesting to get a ride out on the track
Yeah,
sled.
we took the track sled down there.
It was super nice.
It really was, and it worked really well. I took some of the gift cards I got and went to Fleet Farm and got one of the big jet sleds, one of the otter sleds. And they had them on sale too, which was nice. And I got the last one they had.
Oh, dang.
But I just knew, like, bringing that many decoys, I didn't want to take multiple trips. So it was like you just string all these sleds together. So I was able to just run a daisy chain 3 sleds together and take them all down in one trip. And it worked out really, really nice. I mean, it was perfect for the amount of decoys I brought down. I don't know. We probably ran, we had 2 dozen Higdons, 2 dozen GHGs, a dozen DOAs, another dozen and a half of the fully flocked GHGs, probably a dozen and a half avians. So I mean, it wasn't a little spread. It looked pretty nasty. I mean, if we would have saw more birds, or if they would have been closer or flew right over, I think we would have killed some. But
For sure.
that's just part of it. You try to make it look nice. It did look nice. We just didn't get the opportunities for it. So
Yeah, which we knew that might be part of it.
yeah, and this has been kind of one of those like spreads that I've always really, really liked. I think it looks nasty. I think it replicates exactly what birds are doing when it's locked up. Like they still need to stop somewhere. Like
Right.
they can't just go nonstop. So it's like a lot of times these birds, if they've been flying for a while, they'll go down on a frozen lake. I mean, we see it time and time again. These roost ponds and stuff like that. Even if they lock up, these birds are going down on it. So it's like it looked natural. I mean, it happens all the time. We just didn't have the birds to go hand in hand with it.
Yeah.
So it's over.
Until next
Over
year.
until next year. It's depressing. It's sad. But
And you know what's going to happen now? Now that the season's closed.
oh,
We're going to get a million birds down here.
that's the crazy thing too. Is like when we were driving up to St. Cloud.
Yeah.
The amount of, I mean, we saw hundreds and hundreds of ducks along the river, handful. I mean, there was
We've
a
still
good
got
chunk
ducks
of
around
geese.
here.
That's what I mean. Yeah, just north, or just west of us.
Yeah.
The river's open, and there's mallards all over. down
All
there.
over. It's insane.
We were seeing huge flocks of them.
We saw those on Christmas morning when we were heading.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't headed up to St. Cloud. It was headed down. Yeah, I forgot about that. I was trying to remember where we were going and which direction. But yeah,
I mean, technically from where we are, we were going
it was west of
at that
us.
time.
Yeah. So the river down there is open, and there's birds on it. And
Lots of them. I didn't see any geese though.
there were a couple flocks.
Oh,
Of
there
geese.
were,
we saw
like
a couple.
5 to 8 or something like that, but nothing compared to the ducks.
No, the ducks are thick down there. Which, I mean,
Insane.
we've talked about that a handful of times too. Like having a late river season or something like that would be kind of cool. It's we don't get a say in it, but at the end of the day, I think it'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it would. That would be super cool.
But that just means now we transition hard into ice fishing, and we're kind of spending today and probably the weekend. It's raining right now, but it's kind of going to be like a cleanup, organize, get stuff put away, get stuff situated. Really dive in and commit to transitioning from our waterfowl season to our ice fishing. So,
Yeah.
and actually, like after we got skunked goose hunting, I was like, we need to go out and do something, and like I need to
Not get skunked again.
just not I need to satisfy my urges here. And Ty was out. He was thinking about coming out hunting with us, and he had to work that yesterday morning, but he decided after work that he was going to go out fishing. And he was just blowing me up the whole time. Like, he kept calling me, and I was like, dude, I can't talk. We're cleaning up, whatever. He's like, dude, I'm smashing them out here. You guys need to get out here. I said, okay, well, I'll get home. And you had left already from hunting. You sat out there for probably half the day.
Yeah, I had some errands I gotta get done.
And I was like, I'll get home. I'll talk to Dan, see how she's feeling, see if she wants to go out and try to chase some. And we decided that we were going to go do that. So I didn't even change. I just grabbed a couple poles. So didn't even really grab anything other than the sonar and a couple of rods. And we went. And I'm glad we did, because we did get into them pretty decent.
Yeah, you actually caught more than I did yesterday. Lame.
Actually.
Well, usually I'm the...
Yeah, usually you are the fish whisperer. Yeah, I don't know. Something about I was running a rattling PT spoon, and I didn't bring tackle, so I couldn't even tie you one on. I mean, we had a couple spoons tied on for you too, but it just didn't seem. It seemed like that was the one thing that they were like actually being aggressive towards. Everything else was kind of finicky, but
Yeah.
we were getting them.
I got one.
Yeah,
But it was my first crappie of the season.
yeah, and it was a decent one.
It was decent.
Yeah.
We did keep that one.
Yep. Yeah, that was a keeper fish for sure.
Yay.
And I think too, like, we got out there, obviously I stayed out until sunset for hunting. So we got out there and it was dark already, and the lake we were on tends to kind of slow down once the sun goes down.
Yeah.
So he caught him from like 1:30 on, had some really nice fish in the bucket, caught a good chunk of them, and it slowed down a little bit when we got out there, but we were able to still get into some. So yeah, it's one of those, like I said, like, the overlap of seasons is complicating. I wish I would have grabbed my tackle tray and we could have, kind of dialed it in more.
Yeah.
It would have sucked if I would have lost that rattling PT and know I have 6 more of them in my box and I didn't bring it,
Right. Nothing to tie on.
So that's why we're kind of taking the time over these next few days to really get things dialed in. I was getting a few things restrung and reorganized and went through the tackle boxes. I got some clam tackle for Christmas, so getting that stuff all put away. So
Trying to replenish what we lost last
yeah,
year. If we lost it. I feel like we don't lose it often.
we don't lose a ton, but it
Not ice
happens.
fishing.
You get a pike that comes by, or you tie a bad knot or something. It just happens.
Yeah, that's natural.
But I think one of the cool things that we should talk about during that ice fishing was we were set up on a lot of fish. There were a lot of fish rolling through. And we actually took my cousin out with us. And he was in a different house. He brought his own house out. So he was sitting probably, 30 feet from us. And he was marking them like crazy, just like we were. But he was fishing the lower part of the water column at those fish. And we had just found, and this was our second time fishing that lake in the past week, that the suspended ones were the ones that you had to go after.
Yeah, and we were in like, what, 30 feet of water?
We were 33 feet on the basin, and the fish that we were catching were anywhere from 8 to 12, 8 to 15 in the column. So we were picking off the high ones and the lower ones, and I don't know if they were just smaller fish, but there were big schools that were rolling through.
That wanted nothing to do with anybody.
Yeah.
It's like they're on a mission.
Randomly get one that would be aggressive under 15 feet or deeper than 15 feet. But like all of the aggressive fish and the bigger fish seem to be higher in the column. So don't hesitate to try to fish those high marks. Like, for some reason right now the crappies are very suspended. And that was just how, that was the only way we were catching them was staying up in the column. And it was interesting too, because like you had and I was using a rattling spoon, so I think me like shaking it to get attention, and then you almost had to dead stick it
once you got their attention.
Yeah. And they'd get pissed enough to where like they'd actually thump it pretty hard after you were dead sticking it. And it was just kind of a unique way that we were catching them. It wasn't typical. And like I said, my cousin was out there and he was fishing like your standard marks down towards the bottom of the basin and was just kind of struggling with it. And that's where a lot of people start. And it's like, don't be afraid to try to pick those high fish off, because a lot of times those are
Well, it felt like when we were fishing, we were going up and
Oh
then
yeah, I
down
mean
and then
the
up
way the
and
schools were moving
down.
in too, like you were just always sliding up and down the column, just trying to get a fish to show interest. You know, we use the live scope so we can kind of see the whole like range of the school and how many are in there, and really tell when one gets interested. So
Even
that
with a
was
regular flasher, though, you can do the same thing.
well, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. You're
see
not
where
going to
they're
see the
at.
whole width of the
Right.
school, but you're going to be able to tell if one gets interested and starts climbing up for you. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, doing that, fishing different parts in the water column until you get one that's a taker.
It makes me think about like,
to say about that.
oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I lost it.
It makes me think about like fishing back before any of this technology was available. Like
Yeah.
any sort of flasher or sonar or anything. Like me personally, I would probably get pretty frustrated
Oh yeah.
because you don't know. I mean, if you know you're in 30 feet of water, you don't know where they're going to be. You
Well,
don't
that was the
know.
thing, you know, back in the day, you use these clip-on lead weights that would take you all the way to the bottom. You'd set a bobber stop so you knew your depth, and then you just fished around that. You just, you know, you assumed
They're
that
all
the
the
fish
way there.
are yeah down towards the bottom, and that's just not always the case.
Right. It's just a different ball game. You really had something.
I did. It's weird. I don't know. Whatever. If I think of it, I'll let you guys know.
There you go.
But yeah, it was definitely good to get out, and it's good to catch some fish. And
And it wasn't too cold. Like it was just.
no, it was a pretty pleasant day. Like I said, we walked out there.
I mean, it was a long walk. But
It was a hike to get out there, and I kind of regret. So I unhooked the trailer with all the decoys and the track sled in it. Took the track sled in the decoy trailer, and I didn't really feel like pulling it all the way out there. I just got home, you know, so I just parked it and unhooked, and we just threw some shit into the truck. And I kind of regret it because I kind of forgot how long that walk is. You get spoiled when you're using the track sled all early season and you haven't had to hoof it.
at all.
So I went from not wanting to pull sleds full of decoys to deciding that I was going to pull sleds full of ice fishing shit, because we obviously helped Tyler take down, and I helped him pull his sled back and everything. And it's just like,
And he's got the big sled.
he's got
And he had a big pop up.
we were fishing out of one of the otter hubs.
6-sided.
Yeah, the little hexagon, pentagon, whatever they are.
Which, when you put all your gear into one sled, she gets pretty
It's
heavy.
You know, you slap the live scope in there, that's a freaking
That's heavy.
unit. Those things weigh like a ton.
Yeah, if they can figure out how to make them weigh not so much.
We got some ideas about it.
Oh, do ya? Well, look at there.
So I think this is a good time to talk about some of the ice fishing essentials.
Yeah.
Some of the must-haves, some of the organization techniques and stuff like that.
But you're amazing at all of that stuff. I feel like you figure out really cool ways to attach different things to different places and make it super convenient for the setup.
Yeah, I like doing like the funky like organization tricks, and like there's a lot of people that do it. Like I just saw a video on Clam that they took one of their clam milk crates and rigged it up. Well, you know, so it's just like modular, and you can interchange stuff, and all these companies make these cool like attachments and stuff that you can put on your houses and your sleds and your buckets and stuff like that. And it's cool. I do really enjoy doing that stuff.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, to see how you've gotten so creative over the years of ice fishing, because really, like, prior to us being in a relationship together, I didn't really ice fish much.
Yeah.
I mean, I open water fished with my dad growing up and stuff like that, and it was basically just open water fishing. And so I still remember the first time you're like, let's go out on the ice. And I was like, you're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is foreign for a lot of people, and it's scary. Like, I mean, you hear these horror stories of, you know, stuff that goes wrong, people fall in, people die. I mean, it's no joke. You got to take it seriously.
Absolutely. That's why gear is so important.
Well, right. And if we're talking essentials, I think that's the best place to start is your safety equipment.
For sure.
I mean, we've already talked float suits, we've talked DSG stuff, but I think diving a little deeper into that as far as safety stuff, we haven't quite covered that. So for people starting to get into ice fishing, that's one of the best places to start is safety stuff. obviously you can be patient and go out later in the year and, you know, start there. Obviously,
When you see people with big vehicles that are on the
correct.
ice.
Yes, you can assume that walking out there and whatever is safe, right?
Right.
And you should always do your due diligence. That's don't always just assume that people are smart, because they're not always. Obviously, stuff happens. You just see trucks fall in all the time. But those are the people that push it and they don't check.
Right.
Couple of staples for safety equipment. And I do a lot of the early ice checking just because I don't necessarily feel safe having you do it all the time either, because it's not always safe. And we do get out really early.
Yeah.
Get a float suit, number one. Spend the money on it. We used to fish in Carhartt bibs and stupid shit like that. If you go in, I like to know that something's going to keep you up.
So
That's
tell
huge.
people that don't know then, what does a float suit do?
It's like a life jacket and a bib and jacket, essentially.
Yes.
They have X amount of flotation built into the bib and the jacket. I would say spend the money on the full suit. I've seen people skimp on that, where they're like, I'll just get a pair of bibs, whatever. The full suit is what is quantified to a certain point of how much flotation there is. Obviously, people weigh different amounts, stuff like that. But to be entirely safe, get the full suit.
Yep.
I mean, I go out plenty of times. The jackets are freaking warm. If it's too warm, you know, there's been plenty of times where I go out in a bib and sweatshirt, but it's not to specs that they recommend, you know. So at the end of the day, like, a full float suit is 100% the safest way to go about that.
Yep.
Secondly, if you do fall in, a float suit will help keep you afloat, but you need to get out.
Right.
So we always do the ice picks.
Around the neck.
Yep. They're just a little, they're on a bungee. They're 2 prongs. They got spikes on them. If you go out, if you fall in, you can take these off and you can, you know, stab into the ice and pull yourself up out of it.
Right. When you would technically not really have anything to grab onto.
Correct.
Or have anything that
Correct.
you can grip. It's going to give you some ability to do that.
So those 2 things help if something does happen. Now, I think talking about mitigating things happen is also important. Get a spud bar.
Yes.
Looks like a giant chisel on a big pole. You spud bar before you step.
So, spud.
Yep.
Make sure that it doesn't go all the way through the ice.
So the rule of thumb is 3 blows. So 3 hard jabs with the spud bar probably is going to equal 2 to 3 inches of ice. Now, not always exact. Obviously, people throw that spud bar a lot harder at times. 2 to 3 spud bar blows I feel comfortable walking on. If there is ever a point where the spud bar goes through on your first throw, you do not take another step.
Not safe.
No.
Do not proceed.
Back off of that.
Yeah.
Now, that could be just a random spot that's bad.
Sure.
It could be that you reach that point across the entire lake that's bad. So back off, work to your left or to your right, spud bar before you step, then start working your way back out. You know, I've had that happen plenty of times where I've had to zigzag my way out on safe ice, where, you know, you have to take a hard left, and then you got to take a, you know, you're basically snaking your way out there. But most people walk in a straight line. You don't think about that, you know? Right. So somebody who didn't have a spud bar, they're going to walk in a straight line out to their fishing spot, and they're going to find that bad ice, when really they could have been 10 steps to the left and stayed on safe ice.
Right.
So the spud bar is extremely important.
Yeah, and you think, like, too, when you're going out, like, obviously to check ice early on, you know, you're not dragging anything behind you, all of your equipment and stuff like that. But you got to think, like, when you're going out, it's not just your weight that there is. You know, you're pulling your sled, you're taking a bunch of stuff with you. Yeah. Your hands might be full of stuff.
Yep. I think too, like, cleats are really important.
You can just get them and put them on the bottom of your boots.
Yep. It's not really preventing anything as far as breaking through the ice or anything like that, but usually early ice, you have just glare ice. It's slippery.
Prevents you from falling,
Correct.
basically.
Yes, and I fell and I've busted my tailbone or fell backwards and cracked my head. I mean, you fell a couple times too on your butt. Like,
I wear ice cleats.
yeah.
Unless
I just fell the other day and broke a rod.
yeah. right on top of
Yeah, fell right on top. You know, he was
Poor guy.
hole hopping.
Yeah.
It was getting a little warm, so it was getting slick. We didn't wear cleats, and you slip, you fall, you turn weird, and you fall right on your pole, and you break it. You know,
Was that the day that I came and met you guys?
No,
That was a different day.
no.
Or you think of the time like when you're augering a hole.
Yeah, and you're just spinning in a circle because you can't. I mean,
It's slightly funny to watch, but
yeah, and it's
not
not
the
like
safest.
unsafe, but
well,
you know, yeah, you're spinning in a circle doing a merry-go-round around your auger, and you're not making any progress because it's just you spinning. So,
don't do that.
no.
Wear ice cleats.
I think another thing too, obviously, go with a friend.
Yes.
Have a throwable rope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they make these little packs. They got a carabiner on them. You can clip them onto yourself from a distance. You can throw it to your buddy if you got to help somebody get out.
Yep.
I think that's important too. And then once you are out there too, like if it is early ice, I think, again, like you said, take into consideration how much weight you're putting on it. Is putting two people on a two-man flip over the smartest idea? Probably not. I think like pick a warm day, space yourself apart.
Sit on a bucket
Yep.
by yourself. Yeah.
I don't like running heat even. Like if you are going to go in a single man flip over that's insulated and you run a heater in it, you can eat away at a pretty good chunk of that ice pretty quickly. And it can be safe when you start and it can be unsafe by the time you're done. So I think those are just a couple of like touch points as far as like when you are fishing, just be smart from that standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, check on your way out, check on the way back, just do your due diligence from a safety standpoint. That's extremely important. Like,
Yeah, and if you know that, you know, the ice is still not super thick and, you know, it's your first couple times getting out, maybe come back in when it's still light out instead of wait until after it's dark. Like
that's
I know
another thing.
I know the night bite is fun, but
I don't really think about that from a safety standpoint, but it is.
yeah.
Bring lights, bring a headlamp. Because if you overstay your welcome and you get turned around on a lake, that can be really scary.
For sure.
And then you're walking back and you step into a hole or something, and it's not super fun.
Yeah.
So being able to see on your way back is extremely important too. I think that's a good safety point.
For sure.
I think that covers a majority of the safety talk.
Yeah, and I would say like specifically for the light option, don't make your phone the light option
because you're carrying or pulling something, and that's not
You need
fun.
your
A
hands to
good
be
headlamp is nice.
for sure. And it'll drain your battery. I mean,
Yeah.
if for some reason you need to call somebody.
Right.
Speaking from somebody who does that sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, like from our standpoint, with as much like techie stuff that we always do, my battery's like almost always dead. I have to charge it in the middle of the day all the time. Like my phone died yesterday when we were out fishing.
Yep.
So, and then obviously must have stuff. You got to be able to drill a hole. You have to have a rod and reel, some tackle. You know, like some basics from that standpoint.
And you don't have to have the fanciest auger ever. Doesn't make it easy,
No,
sure.
I mean,
but you can also have a hand auger.
Hand augers are more than sufficient.
Make sure your blade's sharp.
Yeah. The rods with spoolie reels, the old school just circle reels on them, or even just with the pins. Like people still catch them on that stuff all the time. So don't be afraid to use what some would consider to be outdated equipment. Yeah. Just use whatever you can to get out there. I mean, yes, you need all of that stuff to be able to do it. So if you don't have the budget to get all the fancy stuff, just get something, right? I mean, anything under 8 inches of ice is more than reasonable enough to go out and hand auger it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not going to go drill 100 holes, but
probably not.
You can pop one, you know, it just. So I think, you know, basics like that is good. As
Facebook
you get
Marketplace is good too.
As you get more into it, obviously, you can expand on your quality of equipment. Electronics are another one. We talked about it kind of already. It's not a necessity. In situations like we were in, are they extremely helpful? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, you wouldn't have really necessarily known where these fish were without having the electronics.
Right.
But you can also still use process of elimination and, start at the bottom of the column, slowly work your way up and work your way through it. So if you don't have electronics, don't feel like you can't go either.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, maybe that is one of the first things that you look at if you're going to make a big purchase. Finding a used Vexlar or a used Markham or something like that on Marketplace or something, that can help you for that. You can find those for a couple $100. So
I don't know. If you're somebody who's ice fished for a long time and you're looking to like up your game a little bit, maybe make life a little bit more interesting, I would say a live scope is the way to go.
yeah, the thing is with the live scope is it's just so expensive. The live imaging is just it's
Correct.
still so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like I said, there's outings where I know we wouldn't have caught the fish we did without it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not from a reliance aspect. It's
Right.
just another tool in the tool belt. But like as far as finding fish, staying on top of fish, knowing where the fish are,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what species they are, you get good at reading that and you can tell what you're fishing. Like
And it's not like it's a clear picture, like you're dropping a camera down a hole.
yeah, it's not like it says pike or crappie, like
But you
it's
can
not,
tell by the way that they're swimming.
as you learn stuff
Yeah.
with it, you get a lot of information.
Which
It's
is
made me
super
a better
cool.
fisherman. A lot of people complain about it and say that it's cheating, it's video game fishing, it's too easy. I've had it where sure I can stay on top of them. It doesn't make them bite.
Correct.
We've talked about this on older episodes of WWR too. That it
You still have to put in the work of, technique, of your fishing
and
technique.
at the end of the day, I think I have learned stuff from the struggles and being able to watch how fish respond to things. There's times where heavily pressured fish, you get to watch how they respond to a light turning on in the ice house, or you drop something and what they do, or even just, we've had it plenty of times where you got fish 30 yards over that way or 30 feet that way. Somebody goes drills on top of them and they scatter.
Right.
Or they scatter just from walking across the ice,
Right.
so.
Or they don't.
Correct.
Sometimes
yes,
they don't.
Yes. But I use it for more of a learning aspect.
Yeah.
I don't always use it. We go back to traditional flasher often. There's pros and cons to all of it.
Right.
So that's kind of the cool thing is you have the ability to progress in the equipment.
Yeah, I think for me, like just like you said, the live scope has been more of a learning tool. Like to be able to take an educated guess on what you're pulling up before you pull it up, just based on their like behavior under the water.
Or what you need to change. I mean, we've
Right.
had stuff turn its nose at us and you change colors or you change presentations or baits or jig strokes or whatever. And you can really dial in what they want during that day.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, that's definitely an advanced piece of equipment. I highly recommend it to everybody, but I think you'd have to go into it with the mentality of it's a tool and it's a learning tool and not just this makes life so much easier.
Well, and it can seem like super intimidating, especially for people that maybe have used the same thing for years and years and years. I remember when we were out ice fishing 2 years ago, at a different spot, and there were like 4 different parties of people that were like, "What are you using?"
Yeah,
and
over
they just
our
came to
shoulder
look.
and
Yeah.
How
Never
are you
seen it
catching
before.
these fish? Why are you, going back to your screen and then going over here and doing all
Drilling
these
a
different
hole. Yep.
things? And it's like, when you can take a second and actually teach people how it works and what the benefits are, and not that it's just like, oh yeah, I'm cheating and I can just go find fish wherever. Like,
Yeah.
it's a huge plus, huge benefit.
I know it helped you, for me specifically too. Like it helps me learn a lake. Like
Yeah.
you can really break down a lake and like see it's not just for the fish, but like you can see the structures underwater too.
Yeah.
You can learn where the weed lines are, not just using like Onyx or something like that, but like to actually get an image of where the dips are and all the things like that?
A mapping system.
Yes.
That just reminded me of that. We're going to divert off of electronics. I think we kind of covered a lot of that, but that just brought up using mapping systems. I think that's important from a essential. We spend a lot of time looking at maps prior to even going out. But whether you have a paper map, whether you look online on Lake Finder, DNR has Lake Finder on almost all of the Minnesota lakes. We just started using Onyx Fish. We've used Onyx Hunt forever now, but they just came out with Onyx Fish.
Is that where you sent me your location?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense why Onyx wouldn't work for me. Because I don't have Onyx Fish yet.
And I just told Ty about it too. I said, we need to get this. Like, I've just started plotting points on there from where we've been catching fish this season. But, that shows where your public accesses are on the lakes. Depths, possible species to catch. The app itself is pretty impressive, and they have almost all the Minnesota and Wisconsin lakes on there already, and they're working to continue to do more. But I think that's huge. I used to use Navionics before that. That one is a paid app, but the lake maps are incredible on that. I mean, I used Navionics for the longest time up at camp, even as far as finding holes and finding islands and stuff like that, like sunken islands and humps and all of this stuff. Like,
right, they're super detailed.
Their maps are really good.
Yeah.
I think as Onyx Fish gets better, it's going to go toe to toe with it, especially from comparison of a free app to a paid app. That's huge. And I will say, from like a guiding standpoint, for me, like it's been paramount to my success.
Right.
You can basically scout from afar just by spending time looking at a map. And I think Onyx is cool too, from the standpoint of, like, if you are just getting into it and you want to go catch sunfish or bluegills, whatever you want to call them, you can just punch that in and it's going to pop up all of the lakes around you that have that species.
Right.
And it's going to also narrow it down to, I think it's cool because they take the DNR netting reports and they dumb it down to where they say above average volume.
Okay.
So it's a high population of bluegills. Or they take the report and they see, we had an above average size. Maybe not a ton of them.
Sure.
But an above average size.
Sure.
So now you can they call it a trophy lake. You have trophy potential out of there. So if you're doing crappies and they had a significant number of 12 plus inchers that were netted, now they call it a trophy potential lake.
Right.
So you can kind of narrow it down. And do you want to go chase numbers, or do you want to go chase big fish, or do you want to go chase walleyes, or do you want to go catch pike, or so I think that's cool too. So I highly recommend that.
Fun.
Yeah. And I've been really impressed with them. I've always liked their hunting app, and now to see them tipping into fishing is pretty sweet.
Makes sense.
So
neat.
You got anything else for that? I would say, I mean, aside from all of that, just get out there. Just go do it. Don't be afraid to go do it. A lot of it's just you have to just get out and do it.
You got to start somewhere. Even if that's finding somebody that's done it for a long time that you can tag along with.
Find a friend for, get on a group on Facebook and ask if anybody will take you out. I mean, people are nice. The world's not all shitty.
Yeah, we said last time too, I'm pretty sure it was the last episode, that outdoors people, if they're true outdoors people, they just want other people to enjoy the outdoors too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
They'll let you tag along, I'm sure. Or we would.
Yeah, reach out to us. I might not give you all my secret spots, but I can try to sure as heck put you on some fish.
The secret
Teach you
spots.
something. Yeah, not the secret spots for sure.
You are a good teacher. That's how I know how to
try,
fish.
yeah.
Nice fish.
And I like sharing it with people. That being said, so this past episode we didn't get any questions on. And I don't think we did a very good job asking for them in that episode.
Oh.
But that is something that we want to continue to do.
Yeah.
So please, if you're listening to it, comment on the video here and
Ask
ask some
questions.
questions, because
Yeah.
we love talking about that stuff. And we weren't sure the frequency that we were going to do this, and we like doing it weekly. We want to make sure that we have tangible stuff that people want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually have something that you want addressed or you want to talk about, we would love that.
Yeah,
So
even if it's a
please,
different topic that we don't normally talk
anything, yeah,
about,
yeah,
or you want to dive into something a little bit more specifically about what we've already discussed.
yeah.
Put your
So,
ideas on there.
We love the engagement.
Yeah.
We love being able to like kind of
Interact.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to close it out, is if you guys are listening and you have something, please let us know, because we would love to talk about it.
For sure.
And if you are listening and tuning in, like the video, subscribe. It helps us. I don't know. It's cool. We try to pay attention to metrics, and like we want to give something that people are enjoying, and we don't really know that unless people are letting us know, and that's just a way to let us know. It sounds, I hate asking for stuff like that, but like it is. It's helpful to understand stuff, and
So follow along.
hit the notification bell.
Bing. Is it over there?
I don't know.
If you point to every
Just
corner,
joking.
you're going to get it. There you go.
Gross.
Oh, you're a millennial.
Gross.
All right.
Jinx. We'll close it out there. Thank you guys. We love doing this. We look forward to every one of these.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.